I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. President Trump is back at the White House, and yesterday he honored 4 American heroes who were killed in the conflict in the Middle East. He attended their dignified transfer at Dover Air Force Base. We showed you that live right here on Fox News without audio, because that's what was requested by the families, and we showed it exactly as it happened. He then met privately with those families. The fallen are First Lieutenant Tyler James Feehan, Private Isabella Gonzalez, Sergeant Michael Swinton, and Sergeant Angel Rampersad. The president later flew Feehan's family aboard Air Force One to Georgia, where he delivered remarks there. And he paid an emotional tribute to their child.
This is a son who was like a flawless, perfect person. Beautiful, beautiful son. His name was Lieutenant Tyler Feehan, and he was a person that was going all the way. He was going to be a general. I just want to thank Tyler's mother, Sherry, his father, Stephen, and his uncle, David, who are great people. I got to know them a little bit on the plane, and standing there watching this sight, which is, it's very tough to watch, to be honest with you. Sherry and Stephen and David, we will carry Tyler's memory in our hearts forever, and I just want to thank you. It's an honor to have you here today. Please.
It was a beautiful moment, and so important for that family and those around the country whose children, whose loved ones are fighting a war right now. U.S. forces have launched a 12th straight night in that war of strikes on Iranian military targets, and the president is warning that each Iranian attack on a commercial ship will trigger a U.S. strike on a bridge or a power plant. So we are going in deeper, and the United States is surging resources now to the Middle East, including more men and women in uniform to fight, aircraft, medical support closer to the fight. And the Wall Street Journal is reporting more than 150 military medics are now positioned in Germany, ready for what could come. Special operations forces and fighter squadrons are in the Middle East as well. Bomber aircraft in the U.S. and the U.K. on alert. Secretary of State Marco Rubio here.
Iran is begging us, okay, both directly and indirectly. Let's do a deal. Let's talk. Let's talk. Iran is begging every day. The problem with Iran is every time they make a deal, the people that are in charge there, they either break it or they want to change it. So it looks like they're not ready to make a deal. So they're going to continue to pay a price.
Coming up with me moments from now is Matthew Wiz Buckley, and we await that. Let's start with Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst in the Middle East. Trey.
Harris, good morning. President Trump also issuing a new warning to the Houthis in Yemen today, saying that if Houthi forces attack any additional vessels, both Iran and the Houthis will face military consequences. This does come after reports indicate that 2 Saudi-owned oil tankers were attacked by this Iranian proxy in Yemen, just off the coast there in the Red Sea. This follows a 12th straight night of U.S. strikes against Iran. According to CENTCOM, the strikes focused on degrading Iran's ability to threaten vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. CENTCOM said in a statement more than 50,000 U.S. service members are operating across the Middle East and remain highly vigilant, focused, lethal, and ready. Remember, President Trump on Wednesday warned Iran directly, saying the United States would target one bridge or power plant anytime Iran shoots at a ship in the Strait. The president spoke yesterday from Georgia about the ongoing conflict and the actions of Iranian officials.
So we're likewise winning in the Islamic Republic of Iran, and we're ensuring that they will never, ever be able to do to us what they've done to so many.
Overnight, Iran launched new attacks against U.S. bases in both Kuwait and Bahrain. Secretary of State Marco Rubio indicated that Iran will continue to pay a heavy price for these actions and threats against the Strait.
Their foreign minister, who the other day say or something about their policies, an eye for an eye. The president's policy is a head for an eye. I mean, honestly, that's what it's going to be. I mean, they will pay a very heavy price. These people who are calling us every day, begging, let's do a deal, they send us messages through other countries, third countries.
Here in Israel, some cities have started to open public bomb shelters in preparation for the possibility of incoming Iranian missile fire. Harris?
Trey Yinks, thank you very much. In focus with me now, Matthew Wiz Buckley, retired Navy Top Gun fighter pilot. Great to see you today. And under these circumstances, we need you and your strategy more than ever. What is being surged exactly to the Middle East that you think will make the biggest difference in a fight?
Good to see you, Harris. And real quick, your chest, your heart just has to hurt for the families, for the lost souls. It's heartbreaking, but that has got to steel our resolve, Harris. So the president, Secretary Hegseth, General Kane are moving what is required into the region to get this job done. My oldest son, Matthew, he's 26. He's stationed at Dover Air Force Base. He put the flags on those caskets yesterday and was in that second van. The reason they didn't have sound is because of the wailing and the crying from those families. My fellow Americans, these people, these radical Islamic terrorists, want to kill as many of us as humanly possible, Harris. If they could, and they've been trying to do this, if they've tried to sink my first carrier, the Abraham Lincoln, which is in the region. If they could sink the Abraham Lincoln today, they'd kill 5,000 Americans. So the president is surging what is required into this region to get the job done. We have got to finish this, Harris.
Look, I know it's foreign policy, but it has to somewhat move the needle a little bit. Saudi Arabia now, the Abraham Accords, and also talks of a civil agreement on nuclear energy inside that country between Saudi Arabia and President Trump. Your just kind of expanded view of how this affects the war.
Well, it's got to equal it out, right? The left side of the Gulf and the right side of the Gulf. The left side of the Gulf is sick of getting pushed around by the bullies on the right side of the Gulf. And the right side of the Gulf has a couple strong parents, Russia and China. Harris, I want to be clear. The precise laser-like targeting hitting our barracks in Jordan, hitting our radar installations in Bahrain and Kuwait, and also our Fifth Fleet headquarters, the Iranians ain't doing this on their own. They are getting that from Russia. So we are in a war, technically, with Russia right now. And just to, as a military man, I step back from this and go, well, guess what? We've also been providing precise targeting intelligence to Ukraine to kill Russian soldiers. So technically, Harris, we're fighting it out with the Russians, too. So if Vladimir Putin woke up today and said, hey, that's it, Iran, no more targeting information, no more weapons, you're done, this thing would end a lot quicker than it is. But I don't know if that's going to be happening anytime soon, sadly.
That's a very important part of this puzzle, because you'll see just within the last week the agreements that have been made to help Ukraine from the United States and the focus that now the late Senator Lindsey Graham put on that very mission. So that's a very real component in all of this. No one, I would imagine, as you just said, thinks that Russia's going to sit down at this point. So they're in the fight, too. I do want to take you, though, to a threat from Iran's parliament speaker and lead negotiator, as we kind of wait to see if they'll come back to the table. This is a quote. "The equation of this war is clear. Either all or none!" Exclamation point. Yeah. In a region where we do not sell oil, no one will sell oil, meaning Iran is either selling its oil or nobody does. Your reaction?
Well, Harris, my reaction is, yesterday when I saw those heartbreaking images, some people in this country are wanking about paying an extra $50 to $100 in gas each month. Folks, after 9/11, a lot of us said, what? Never forget. Could you imagine, Harris, if those 19 hijackers, instead of flying airliners, were told, hey, just drive these U-Hauls. There's something in the back into New York, Chicago, Miami, LA, and Dallas, and just sit there with a small nuke? Millions of Americans would have been dead. So I will never forget, Harris. This is what we're dealing with. The enemy always gets a vote. And as that guy just said, they're in this to fight to the bitter end. We have got to be in this to win it, Harris, because they want the most powerful weapon ever created by man to wipe out as many of us as humanly possible. I'll gladly pay a little bit more in gas to rid the world once and for all of radical Islamic terror, period.
And as you started, the sacrifice, though, will be more than gasoline, potentially. And so just a timeline as you see it, based on what you know we're parking out there, the medics that we put in Germany, all of that now is part of that surge. Just a last point about, because it's about sacrifice.
It is, Harris. Like I said, I have skin in the game with my boy, President Trump or Raisin or Secretary Hegseth. I'm a 57-year-old man. I think it was Iron Eagle 3 or 4 had some old fighter pilots coming back. This is the war, Harris. Iraq and Afghanistan, those were forays. It was always about Iran. They started this 47 years ago, and we're going to finish it. And if I could, I would, man. I still hit the gym, and I am ready to go. This is the fight, Harris, and it has been that way, and we need to finish it.
Liz Buckley, it is always great to have you in focus. Thank you. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.